told us they had a person that was killed in Atlanta and dumped in their jurisdiction.
We have to find out where this person actually died. And wherever that person died, that jurisdiction, that's the investigating agency. You know, if it happens to be Atlanta, then it's me and this guy.
We got to put Detective Zimbrick on the road to South Carolina.
Gents,
What's up, Z? How's South Carolina?
a whole nother world.
Zimbrick made his way up to Townville. Now we're going to game plan.
What'd you find out up there?
Have a look. All right, black male, no ID, dumped along the wood line off the road.
He's stripped down to his underwear.
Right now, we got big puzzles happening.
All right, cause of death.
2 gunshot wounds, 1 to the neck, and 1 to the chest.
That'll do it.
This isn't an accident. This seems like an execution.
All right, how long has he been dead for?
Less than 12 hours.
It's a small window.
I'm trying to put the timeline together. Anderson County, South Carolina, a body that looks fresh. We're 2 hours away. Is this really our case? I'm starting to doubt this.
Are we sure this is ours?
Yeah, but it's crazy how this all unfolded.
Our guy Zimbrick, he drops a story on us that the both of us, we just can't believe. It was like 3:40 in the morning. This is a rural part of South Carolina. I mean, we're in the real South. We're not just playing around. You got a brother banging on the door, you know, bleeding from head to toe, talking about he needs help.
Please wake up! Please, please, please.
You need to get off my property.
Please help me! Somebody's been shot!
And only imagine these, you know, sleepy people not used to seeing this kind of action in the backyard. Okay, you need to back away from my door.
Hurry up!
So this homeowner dials 911.
The sheriff's deputy heads out there, comes in contact with a guy who identifies himself as Devon Upshaw. He is from Atlanta.
Hey man, where does this blood come from?
Devon goes on to say the blood that's on him belongs to a man he was with who was shot.
This is my friend's blood, I swear. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, please.
The $1 million question is, where's the man that was shot?
He shows him to the body, a short distance away along the wood line off the road.
And that's where they find this guy.
I think he's over here.
It's a black male, just like he said, on the side of the roadway in his boxer shorts, faced up, looking at the stars.
He said everything happened in Atlanta after midnight.
Devon Upshaw tells him he's riding in a car with his brother, who's the driver. He's got a friend of his named Shaka in the car, and also in the front seat of the car is their cousin. And at some point, their cousin, who just came to visit him, he just shoots their friend Shaka.
What the hell, man? What'd you just do?
Why did this brother shoot him?
No reason at all.
So Shaka's our dead guy?
Yeah, but that's just his nickname. Devon doesn't know his real name.
All right, what happened next?
They had to get rid of Shaka.
He made me drag him over here and...
Devon goes on to say that after the shooting, his cousin forced them to drive to South Carolina with this dead body in the car to dump the body. Devon does say, as they were moving the body out of the car, he saw an opportunity to escape, so he ran into the woods.
Devon! Stop!
He went running till he found that house, started banging on the door.
Okay. Where are the brother and the cousin?
Devon doesn't know.
Of course not.
You buying all this, Vinny?
It's too convenient.
This story just sounds too good to be true. You have a guy covered in blood, and that only means one thing.
I'm tagging Devon as a shooter.
He's it. Until he's not.
So we're making this case ours?
You're damn right.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and contact the Anderson County boys, let them know we're handling this case, and make sure that Devon Upshaw gets transported back to Atlanta for further questioning.
Awesome. Thanks, Z.
Hey, nice work.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right.
This is gonna be a tough one.
Yep. Let's dig in.
All right, so let's start with what we do know, the names.
First thing I do, I run through our database.
No criminal record for Devon.
What about his brother, Darnell?
Nah, he's clean too. We got a name for the cousin?
Nah.
So right now, all I can go with is the two brothers.
Oh, hold on. We got a phone number for Darnell. Yeah, grab this.
First things first, we gotta talk to Darnell Upshaw.
Hey, how we doing? I'm Detective David Quinn.
We gotta set up a meet and greet, a face-to-face, right now.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon. Gotcha.
Where we headed?
The Burbs, baby. That's right.
There's a surprise waiting for us when we arrive at the address. Directly across the street, DeKalb County PD is posted in front of this house. Yellow crime scene tape everywhere.
That's an active crime scene.
Wood and I look at each other like, what the hell's going on here?
I saw this on the news this morning, man.
Yeah?
This is a house where there was a home invasion with a kidnapping component.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
The light bulb goes off and we're like, this has to be related.
Hey, brother.
As we dig deeper into the case, the stories become wilder and wilder.
All right, so what kind of gun was it?
It was a 45. It was mine.
It's the most bizarre-sounding murder I've ever been a part of.
Check it out.
But the truth is stranger than fiction.
This case is turned into something you would see in a Hollywood movie.
Black male, no ID, dumped along the wood line off the road.
We just caught a bizarre murder case. We're investigating the shooting of a victim whose body was found in Anderson County, South Carolina, 2 hours away from Atlanta.
All right, cause of death.
2 gunshot wounds, one to the neck, and one to the chest.
A man named Devon Upshaw claims he saw the shooting go down.
He claims that the murder took place in a moving car in Atlanta.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.
Where we headed?
The Burbs, baby.
So we set up a meeting with one of the occupants of the vehicle. But after we get there, we stumbled on this active crime scene right across the street.
A dude got kidnapped from right there.
And we gotta wonder, are these crimes related?
Hey, brother. Detective Quinn, APD.
Johnson, DeKalb County.
He says the homeowner involved here got his doors kicked in the wee hours of the morning, and they can't find him anywhere.
Okay, who's your Vic?
Name is Rodney Parker.
That could be our guy Shaka.
Could be.
What's going on?
We're working a body dump, and we think it could be related to this.
We're here in the city?
South Carolina.
So this case starts off in Anderson County, South Carolina. Changes hands in the ATL, and now it could possibly be handed off to DeKalb County.
You think it's my victim?
Oh, we're on the way to speak with a witness right now, so.
Yeah, we'll let you know when we find out.
Thanks. I'll do the same on this end.
Until we decide or can determine who this really belongs to, we all have to work this as one.
It's time to hear what Darnell has to say.
What's going on, man? APD. Can we talk for a second? Come on. You know why we're here?
Yeah,
Do you know anything about what's going on over there across the street?
I have no idea.
He's either really scared or he's deeply involved.
Look, man, we need you to go ahead and start breaking it down for us.
Darnell lays it all out for us. He says he was out with his brother Devon, his cousin, and their friend Shaka.
What's Shaka's real name?
I don't know. He's really Devon's boy.
So here we are, strike one again on our victim's name. He's still unidentified.
What about your cousin? What's his full name?
Kevin Groves.
Kevin Groves. He from around here?
No, he's from D.C.
He says Kevin Gross just showed up because he was en route to Missouri to join a trucking school. This was going to be his last weekend to kind of celebrate before he clocked into trucking school.
Okay, so what happened last night with Mr. DC?
It was crazy.
He tells me the same story as his brother Devon. What Darnell is saying is they're riding around, and all of a sudden his cousin, Kevin Gross, pulled out a gun and just lost it.
Yo, chill, man, chill.
I don't know why he did it.
Okay. What kind of gun was it?
It was a 45. It was mine.
Hold up. It was your gun?
It's not what you think. I work out of my car doing computer repairs, so I have a gun on me, just in case. For protection.
It's his own gun, it's his car, and conveniently, his cousin Kevin Gross just knew where to get this gun from and has absolutely no reason to explain of why he shot the victim.
So how do we know you not the shooter, brother?
I'm not.
Okay. Well, then you're gonna want to go ahead and start telling us the truth. All right? Because right now, it doesn't sound like it.
What happened after the shooting?
What you just do? Shut up!
After their cousin shoots Shaka, he turns the gun on both of them.
Just drive. We're going north.
Kevin said, we're gonna drop this body in the country.
We crossed the border into South Carolina and realized we're almost out of gas. Kevin makes me pull over. It says, we're dumping the body now. That's when my brother took off.
Devon! Stop!
Darnell's story remarkably matches up almost exactly to what Devon says. In his 6 years in homicide, Quinn and I know when stories match up that tight, it sounds rehearsed. Could these two brothers be in on us together in making it up about their cousin?
So your brother dips out, right? What do you do?
Kevin makes me strip Shaka's clothes, and we all ass back to Atlanta.
According to Darnell, Kevin Gross told him to burn everything. The car, the clothes, and anything else that was in the back seat where the victim was.
Where's your cousin now?
Gone. Caught a ride out of town. I haven't seen or spoken to him since.
Darnell's saying he's scared, but he's not even worried about his brother. This isn't adding up. I'm highly suspicious of Darnell at this point.
So you destroyed all the evidence?
Nah, I got rid of it in a dumpster.
Where at?
15 minutes from here.
So right now, Darnell needs to show us where this dumpster is.
Darnell directs us to a dumpster in Conyers, Georgia.
You sure this is the right one?
Yeah, I put everything into 2 white trash bags.
We're gonna have Darnell do the dumpster dive.
Bingo, baby.
We find bloody clothes. We find blood on other items, food items inside this particular set of bags.
Whoa.
Industrial strength planer.
So what's up with this?
I had to, clean the blood out of my car.
Oh, man. So you did get rid of all the evidence?
I guess.
Is that what an innocent person does? I mean, you are not only cleaning up, you're destroying evidence, you're covering up.
What about the gun?
My cousin kept it.
Your cousin kept it. All right, what about the car?
I parked it at a friend's house.
All right, so we're gonna need to take that vehicle for processing. You good with that?
Sure.
Good. All right, come on.
Let's roll.
This is the pinnacle of our crime scene. This is where everything allegedly happened. We gotta get in there. It's forensic time.
Darnell led us to the car at his friend's house, so we had a crime scene unit tow that car to the homicide cage. You know, Darnell had implicated himself enough in this case that we probably could have charged him. But he does this much better on the outside than in jail because we could always go back to Darnell and question him later.
At this point, we decide to drop Darnell off. While he's still a suspect, we're gonna let his ass go home as a witness for now.
We have to have a name to go with this body.
All right, I'm finding the name Shaka, but it's not coming back to any specific person.
It pops up in the computer as nicknames that someone encountered on the street, There's no real name attached to it, so we got nothing on Shaka.
Hey, you got Quinn. Hey, it's the cab.
We quickly learned that that kidnapping had absolutely nothing to do with our case.
All right, y'all be safe, brother. All right.
So we move on from that.
Whoa, Mr. Popularity.
Quinn here. Yeah, talk to me.
It's a call from the Anderson County detectives. They actually went back to the crime scene, did a more thorough dive, and they found an ID.
Tafari Myers, 21, out of Stone Mountain, Georgia.
All right, let's see. He's got no criminal record, just like the brothers.
It's got an address on there?
Yes, sir.
We gotta figure this murder out. The first step is to talk to the family.
All right. Let's go make a death notification and see what we can find out about their son.
They may have the answers to break this case wide open.
It seems we're one step closer to solving this mystery.
Do you recognize these two young men right here?
It was crazy. This was straight out of Pulp Fiction.
Here we go, 245s.
Can a key piece of physical evidence change the course of this investigation?
Look, man, for all we know, the brothers killed Tafari and their cousin, too.
At this point, we don't know what to believe.
Tell us everything that happened last night.
The four of us were driving around.
We're inching closer to solving the case of a man killed in Atlanta. Chill. Then dumped in South Carolina. We've been assigned a murder that allegedly took place inside of a moving car.
Hey, we just got an ID on our victim.
Right now, we know who our victim is, Tafari Myers.
It's got an address on there?
Yes, sir.
We want to meet the Myers family. We want to, one, give them our condolences, but most importantly, we want to ask questions about their son.
That's right.
And thank you for making time.
The family was actually, just getting back from church. I mean, this was a devastating blow.
Tell us about your son.
He was a beautiful soul.
According to Tafari's mom, he's a good kid. He does the right thing. He loves his family. He's devoted to them.
He lived with us.
Okay. When was the last time you saw him?
Yesterday evening. He just said, I'm going out and I'll see you in the morning.
She thought nothing of it. She had no idea where he was going, but he always would return sometime in the wee hours of the morning.
Did he say who he was going out with?
No, just friends.
Tell me this. Do you recognize these two young men right here?
No.
No.
Not at all.
While we feel for our families, we knew we had to get out here and hit these streets.
If you think of anything else, you need anything else, give me a shout, okay? Okay, we're gonna be in touch with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
We head to the office to process Darnell's vehicle.
All right.
Let's see what we got.
Oof.
I could smell nothing but Clorox bleach and what smelled like cleaning product. It was overwhelming.
So Tafari's right here.
Right. And according to Devon and Darnell, the cousin pulls out the gun and bang, bang.
Our victim, Tafari Myers, he got 2 fatal through-and-through wounds to vital areas of his body.
One to the neck, one to the chest.
So if the cousin was right-handed, then the casings would have ejected this way. Let's see. Oh, here we go. 245s.
Nice.
Consistent with what Darnell told us, we find 2 spent .45 shell casings underneath the driver compartment on the floor.
Wait a minute, Vinny. Did they find any slugs at the autopsy?
No, I don't think so. Here we go.
And we find a single projectile in the back seat right behind the cushion where a person's back would normally be seated. And then we find another spent projectile in the rear driver's side quarter panel. So we're cooking.
So what? We're thinking Kevin Gross is a shooter now?
Maybe. But I still got my eyes on Darnell.
All these things that Darnell Upshaw did, in our experience, that's what suspects do, not what innocent people do.
Look, man, for all we know, the brothers killed Tafari and their cousin, too.
At this point, we don't know what to believe.
All right, so let's focus on the cousin, see what we dig up.
I like it.
Let's go.
Up until now, we've been pretty much going off the word of Devon and Darnell. And the first thing we have to determine is whether Kevin Gross really exists.
We reached out to DC Metro Police and confirmed Kevin Gross is a real person. And on top of that, this brother's got a lengthy criminal history. I mean, this dude was out there in them streets, and what it looked like, he'd been putting in that gang work.
For the first time, we're thinking maybe these brothers are actually telling the truth. Maybe this is in fact what really happened here. We might have a gangster in the mix.
The main focus right now is to find out where Kevin Gross is. We know a guy at the bus station who works security. We asked him for some help in finding Kevin Gross's travel itinerary on the day of the homicide. While waiting on a request from our guy at the bus station, we find out Devon Upshaw is back in Atlanta. It's time to get some FaceTime with him.
Devon Upshaw agrees to come to the homicide office for an interview.
Thank you for your time.
We've got questions. He'd better have some answers.
Let's get started.
Okay.
It's time to get to the bottom of this. We need the whole story.
It was the craziest night of my life.
There we go.
We're quickly making strides in the Tafari Myers murder case. 2 days in our investigation, we finally confirmed Kevin Gross is a real person. We just don't know where this brother is.
Look, man, for all we know, the brothers killed Tafari and their cousin, too.
While waiting on bus records to come in on Gross, we interviewed Devon Upshaw.
Thank you for your time.
Let's get started.
Okay. It was the craziest night of my life.
I can't wait to hear what Devon Upshaw's got to say. I mean, I don't just have our popcorn, I got our fried chicken. I want to hear it.
That night, we picked up Shaka and we went out to the strip club in the cab.
So we're asking Devon, was everything cool at the strip club? Was everybody getting along?
Everything was chill, you know? We were having a good time.
So there was no beef, nothing like that?
No. Everything was good.
All right. And what happened next?
We went to go see a cop.
What?
Who is this cop? Is he part of this thing?
Mr. Upshaw's injected a police officer into this scenario. It gets crazier every time we talk to somebody.
Look, my brother, he fixes computers, and one of his clients happened to be a cop.
He gets a call from a guy that he's fixed his computer, and he wants his computer brought back to the house. It turns out the guy whose computer he's working on is a police officer.
What time was this?
Around 1 a.m. We went to his house, dropped off the computer, and then we left. That was it.
If it is true that this cop exists, he wouldn't tell us that.
All right, do me a favor. Write down the address to the cop's house. That way we can follow up with him.
And if he is lying, there's no cop exists, then we're back on the brothers.
Thank you.
All right, brother. So what happened after that?
We were driving, and out of nowhere, Kev shot him.
They're driving along, listening to music, and for no reason at all, out of nowhere, Kevin Gross just pulls out a gun and shoots Tafari.
I couldn't believe it. I begged him to take Shaka to a hospital.
Yo, I think he's still alive. Come on, let's get him to the hospital. Are you crazy? No, we in this together, all right?
I felt so helpless.
Shaka?
His friend is dying, but he's afraid of his cousin.
Come on, Kev.
Devon was so afraid that he actually tried to jump out of the vehicle. That's absolutely crazy.
Hey, don't be stupid. Put your hand on the headrest. Now!
He's being made to hold him to the back of the headrest while his buddy is in the agony and the throes of death. This is like a horror movie. You can't even make this stuff up.
Once we made it to South Carolina, I ran. You guys know the rest.
Yeah, but we still need to verify everything, so.
No one's off the hook yet until we can prove what they're saying is true.
We'll be in touch. All right, brother.
We've heard Devon's story. He's cooperated so far. So we let him go home, and we move on to the next thing. We made contact with a DeKalb County police officer who had his computer repaired by Darnell. And sure enough, this DeKalb officer verified everything.
This guy couldn't really provide anything else. At this point, all we have is what we've been told. This case has kind of been hitting a brick wall. We can't do anything else until we get in front of Kevin Gross.
Hey, man, Quinn here.
I get a call from my contact
Okay.
at the bus station.
All right. All right, talk to me. What do you got for me?
I found a transaction record for Kevin Gross. It shows a ticket was purchased at 5:41 in the morning.
That's consistent with Darnell's story.
Exactly.
So all of this is lining up. 5:41 a.m. is literally shortly after the time that Darnell said he dropped him off at the bus station.
Okay, where did it go?
Springfield, Missouri. He bought a one-way ticket.
We were supposed to go to trucking school.
I guess he didn't make that, did he?
You know, this doesn't fully prove Darnell's story.
If Darnell and Devon completely made all of this up to pin it on their cousin, they could have purchased that ticket, and this could all be a setup.
All right, brother, do you have anything that will show Kevin on the bus without a doubt?
I think so. We have surveillance video.
We need to see it. We got a picture of what Kevin Gross looks like, and we want to see if that's him on that video.
And how soon can we get that?
Right away.
This is the final piece to the puzzle.
Okay, where did it go?
Springfield, Missouri. He bought a one-way ticket.
We're one step closer to finding Kevin Gross, the prime suspect in the Tafari Myers case.
A contact at the bus station told us that Gross redeemed a ticket on the morning of the homicide.
We have surveillance video.
Okay, and how soon can we get that?
Right away.
So this is like, drum roll please, we need to see this video. And we can't wait to get our hands on it.
All right, see you soon.
The next day, we received the video.
Yo, Vinny, check it out.
I can see it.
We've, gotten involved in this homicide. This is the last crescendo. We're looking at this video with bated breath, just trying to see if we see anyone matches the description of Kevin Gross.
Okay, freeze that. Is that our guy?
And then out of nowhere, we see this young black male getting on the bus.
He's got the same hair. Hold on.
What do you think?
That's our guy.
I'm like, bam! Finally, this is some real, substantive evidence.
Well, it looks like Devin and Darnell were telling the truth then.
Yeah.
To this point, everything that the Upshaw brothers have said is making sense. And this right here is literally the tie that puts it all together.
All right, look, I'm gonna put some paperwork together on this fella, get it to a judge, get us a warrant. All right, take this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Based on the statements, based off the ballistics evidence collected, based off these unbelievable stories, we go ahead and get a warrant for Kevin Gross, charging him with murder.
We know Kevin Gross hopped on a bus to Missouri, but that was 2 days ago. All hopes of intercepting the bus are gone. The cousins told us that Kevin Gross attended a trucking school. They didn't know which one. We looked up trucking schools, but there's hundreds of them. That was a dead end.
Now, we know for a fact Kevin Gross is a D.C. dude, up one side and down the other. We speak with the D.C. Metro Police, and they tell us that Kevin Gross had an aunt that wired him $50. And we learned she sent that money around the time of the murder.
We flagged Kevin Gross on a national warrant and give it to our fugitive team, who are masters at finding bad guys. A few months later, we're notified that Kevin Gross is in custody in D.C.
He quickly waives extradition and is bounced back to Atlanta.
All right,
check it out.
We can tell that you know the drill, all right? So you have the right to remain silent.
If we get him back to the homicide office, inside the comfortable confines of the interview room, read him his rights, maybe he gives us something to chew on.
So what can you tell us about this?
He was dialed in as a criminal. We've been around countless numbers of suspects, people accused of crimes. This was a gangster.
Got a couple things for you to take a look at here, brother. I want you to be clear on why you're here, all right? We don't want any confusion.
All right. So there you go. So what can you tell us about this?
Look, come on, man. Your cousin already told us what's up, so.
Man, look, I ain't saying nothing. I want an attorney.
Yep. That's cool. All right. Sounds like we're done here.
So Kevin Gross wants a lawyer. We can't ask him questions. So we call a paddy wagon and we send him down to Fulton County Jail.
All right, brother, hang tight.
We feel strongly that Kevin Gross is the killer, but we want to be sure. We've got to find some other evidence that really just ties it together.
Gentlemen, I've got call logs for all 4 of our people. Tafari, Gross, and the Upshaw brothers.
That's nice.
Okay. I see Tafari calling the brothers for a ride.
Yeah, I got Darnell calling the cop with the computer thing.
And all the phones were together throughout the night, going up I-75.
The phone records keep pinging and hitting cell towers all the way north into the state of South Carolina.
So that lines up with what the brothers told us.
Yeah, but what we don't know is why Kevin shot Tafari.
But that's how it goes sometimes.
We feel really good about our case. We know we made a great arrest. The only thing we've got left is answering the question why.
Whoa. I got something here in Darnell's phone records. So, right after the murder, it looks like he made a phone call about 5:42 a.m.
You said 5:42?
Mm-hmm.
That's about the time he dropped his cousin off at the bus station.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and...
It's a long-ass phone call.
Let me see.
Darnell Upshaw's making a 26-minute call, not calling law enforcement, but talking to someone for 26 minutes after dropping off his seemingly murderous cousin.
Well, it looks like Darnell had a lot to say. Who's he talking to?
It's like the number is registered to Tamara Scott.
That's a big question. We've got to talk to this person.
Hey, let's see what this young lady knows about our case here.
Go for it.
Hello?
Hey, trying to reach a Miss Tamara Scott.
Yes.
Hey, this is Detective David Quinn. Calling in regards to a Darnell Upshaw. Are you familiar with him?
Yes.
Tamara says she's really good friends with Darnell and they talk often.
No, look, sister, I need to ask you about a phone call that took place between you and Darnell. Now, this occurred back in September, so you may need to jog your memory a little bit.
I remember that call very vividly.
Tamara Scott says she remembers this so well because it was so incredibly shocking to her what was being told.
He told me about the murder.
Okay. All right, sister, I need you to tell me everything.
I'm dying to know. What did Darnell say to her?
You have the right to remain silent.
Kevin Gross is arrested and charged with the murder of Tafari Myers, but he refuses to talk.
Man, I ain't saying nothing. I want an attorney.
We're grasping at straws, trying to come up with a motive.
I got something here.
That's when we discover a 26-minute phone conversation between Darnell Upshaw and a female friend.
Who's he talking to?
Looks like the number is registered to Tamara Scott.
We're hoping Darnell said something that could shed some light on why this happened.
He told me about the murder.
All right, sister, I need you to tell me everything.
I was like, this is money. She's gonna have some information.
It was really rude when he called me. Hello?
According to Tamara Scott, Darnell calls her out of the blue at 5:42 in the morning on that fateful Sunday, and she says he begins to unwind and unpack this crazy story that at first she just didn't believe.
My cousin killed him, and then we drove to South Carolina.
Slow down. Wait, you're not making any sense. He was really upset, but I finally got him to calm down enough to tell me what happened.
We were driving around having fun and
Come on. She basically says that Darnell, Devon, and Tafari were involved in what's like a rap cipher inside of the car.
Me, Kev Darnell, and my boy named Shaka, we driving around, can't no one stop us.
Hey. At some point, the rap freestyle came over to Tafari.
Okay. Yo. The brothers got their cousins who hail from D.C.
Darnell didn't remember what Tafari said to Kevin Gross. That's how insignificant and innocent whatever those words were seemed to be, but to Kevin Gross it meant much more.
Darnell's cousin was pissed.
He says something about Kevin Gross, and it turns into a death sentence for him.
Without hesitation, Kevin Gross reaches under the seat
Yo, hey.
and fires 2 shots at Tafari Myers,
Yo, chill, man.
striking him once in the chest and once in the neck.
So, this is over a freestyle rap lyric.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Like, this is a young man who lost his life for just being dissed.
What the hell, man? Shut up! Just drive. We're going north.
Okay. All right, sister. Thank you for your time, okay? All right, we'll be in touch if we have any further questions. Wow. Okay. We got our motive, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We understand exactly the who, what, when, and most importantly now, finally, the why.
In straight Fulton County fashion, a Superior Court judge gives Kevin Gross a $50,000 bond. This is a joker that doesn't even live in this jurisdiction and gets a get-out-of-jail-free card. He quickly bonds out and heads straight back to D.C.
When I heard that Kevin Gross made bond, but more importantly, the amount of bond, I was completely disappointed in our justice system. Because this is a man who not only took a life for no reason at all, he has a history of going on the run.
And in true Kevin Gross form, while in D.C., he shoots someone else. He was charged, quickly convicted in that case, and sent directly to prison. We felt terrible for Tafari's family. Six years later, in 2012, Kevin Gross is released from prison and finally sent back to Atlanta to stand trial for killing Tafari Myers. Rather than face a jury, Kevin Gross takes an Alfred plea.
An Alfred plea is pleading guilty to the crime legally, but not admitting to it. That's a coward move on the part of Kevin Gross. On September 11, 2012, Kevin Gross is sentenced to 45 years in prison.
But it's crazy how this all unfolded.
You know, all I can think about when I go back to this case, as unbelievable as it was the truth.
The brothers got their cousins who hail from D.C. Hey.
I mean, sometimes murders don't have a long and high forensic ladder. Sometimes it's Cain killed Abel.
He was a beautiful soul.
My heart goes out to the family. Now, I also feel for the Upshaw brothers. I'm sure their lives were changed forever that night.
What the hell, man?
We've seen a lot of people killed, but for simply disrespecting someone, a true shining light in that family got snuffed out for absolutely no reason.
A rising star is brutally slain.
Emergency, somebody done killed my baby.
It was 100% unadulterated rage and hate.
A prosecutor facing his toughest challenge.
It was a real mystery. One of the most brutal homicide cases that I've ever witnessed.
There's no shortage of motive.
This is a brother with a lot of loot.
Or suspects.
She was wild. He had a proclivity for women.
He basically gave me a credit card to call whatever I needed.
Section money is the perfect cocktail for murder.
An unlikely tip
I have info on your murder case.
leads to a shocking conclusion.
He was totally blindsided.
That was the piece that put us over the top.
We're about 20 miles north of the city of Atlanta in Roswell, Georgia. This is a place filled with people of influence and affluence.
If you compared Roswell to the city of Atlanta, it's like night and day. In Atlanta, we have every manner of crime you could think of.
Assaults, burglaries, homicides, you name it.
But crime's not the norm in this part of the area. I went to the police academy with an officer that later moved over to Roswell PD, and he told me how bored he was.
So you can imagine how shocked everyone was in the summer of 1996. That's when a brutal murder happened inside a mansion here that rocked the community to its core.
Emergency, somebody done killed my baby.
Okay, tell me what's going on.
I don't know. I came in the house and I found him in the bed. Hurry.
Minutes later, Roswell PD arrive at a $1 million mansion and discover a grisly scene. The victim, he's in his bed. He's covered with a sheet. There was so much blood. They found blood spatter on the ceiling, on the walls, on the headboard, the bed.
This was horror actualized in the sleepy town of Roswell, Georgia.
The victim is 41-year-old Lance Herndon, a well-known businessman.
Lance Herndon was a tech pioneer. He was getting recognized by sitting presidents. He was bringing wealth to the whole metro Atlanta. Due to the high-profile status of this case, Clint Rucker was brought in to assist with the investigation.
So, catch me up to speed on everything.
Clint Rucker is Fulton County's top prosecutor and Atlanta's legal icon.
Here's the initial report.
He's a prosecutor that thinks like a detective. He was the perfect and necessary asset to push that case forward.
This was the most important and high-profile case that I had experienced in my career. I was very determined that I would do everything I could in order to bring his killer to justice.
Who called 911?
Lance's mother. She was checking on him because he hadn't shown up for work.
The mother of Mr. Lance Herndon found him in the master bedroom, covered up by a comforter, unresponsive.
The crime scene was shocking.
This scene was one of the most gruesome crime scenes that I've ever seen. They found him bludgeoned to death. Literally, Lance Herndon's brains were beaten out of his skull.
He was literally beaten to death.
We had determined, based on the blood pattern, 11 to 14 times where this object has struck his head and his face, and it actually places the killer on top of Mr. Herndon.
This speaks to the rage of the killer, and it also speaks to the connection that the killer has to Lance Herndon.
What was he killed with?
I don't know.
A search was done of the house from top to bottom, and no murder weapon was found at the scene.
Anything valuable missing or stolen?
His laptop?
Lance was a computer software tech guy. His laptop was an IBM ThinkPad. It was one of the first of its kind to ever come out. Lance rarely ever took that laptop outside of the house because it was so vitally important, and it was very expensive, close to $5,000.
We find a laptop, we find our killer.
Take a look at that.
Clint learns another strange clue. Multiple clocks in Lance's bedroom were unplugged.
One clock was frozen at 4:10 a.m.
That's got to be right around the time of the murder.
It helped us narrow a time frame in which the murder could have occurred.
Anything else of interest from the crime scene?
There was a framed photo.
One of the other things that was very unusual, Lance had a photograph next to his bed of a woman, but that picture frame was turned face down.
Who's the woman?
Working on it.
Let me know when you figure it out.
The killer could be someone who was romantically involved with our victim. A scorned woman or lover and had a heightened sense of jealousy and had to put that picture down.
Where are we with the suspects?
Still sifting through people. While he did have a lot of friends, there were some enemies.
This was a classic whodunit from the very beginning.
Let's get to work.
But one thing is clear, this killer's connected to this victim. And everyone is a suspect until you're not.
Clint,
what's up, my brother? Man. Good to see you.
We met with Clint to learn how he narrowed down the suspect pool.
When we looked at Lance's life, there was a consistent word kind of used to describe Lance's personality, and that was he was a ladies' man. Lance liked the ladies, and there were many of them that were in and around his life in various capacities.
So you gotta harken back to the scene itself. That amount of violence, that spells rage.
Lance was found in his bed, face up, nude. And that suggested to me that there was a sexual component here that I might need to take a hard look at. And so when I went down my suspect list, now I'm looking at folks who would have been intimate with him in the days or weeks prior to his death.
This photograph of Lance and this woman turned down had to have meant something.
It was really important for us to identify who the person was in that photograph so we could see exactly if she had anything to do with Lance's death. And so when we investigated, what we learned is that young lady's name is Nadine Foster. She was Lance's primary girlfriend. When we looked at Nadine, one of the things that we discovered is that there had been a prior incident at the house where a woman came and knocked on Lance's door while Nadine was there. And I do know that it caused a bit of friction between Nadine and Lance.
Vince and I have worked homicides in the past where definitely scorned lovers are suspect number one. They're the ones that you have to rule out early.
Nadine could have found out that Lance was about to break up with her and in a fit of rage, murdered him.
The crime scene was shocking.
Atlanta Tech mogul Lance Herndon has been murdered in his Roswell home.
He was literally beaten to death.
Due to the high-profile nature of the case, Roswell police asked for assistance from Fulton County prosecutor Clint Rucker.
Who's the woman?
Working on it.
All the evidence suggests that Lance was killed by someone he knew.
Lance liked the ladies, and there were many of them that were in and around his life in various capacities.
Let's get to work.
Police end up zeroing in on Lance's girlfriend, Nadine Foster.
Nadine could have acted out in a very violent rage, feeling like she was losing control of a man that she cared about very deeply.
This could have been a fatal attraction.
Nadine Foster was very much a suspect. Police were interested in trying to learn where she had been on the night of Lance's death and see if there was some motivating factor to commit the murder.
How was she acting? What was her body language?
She was a little defiant by the fact that she had to answer these questions and justify her whereabouts. She vehemently denies having anything to do with the murder of Lance Herndon. She didn't show any emotion like I expected. There were no tears. One of the things that she wanted to know was how soon could she get her clothes back.
She's more concerned about getting her belongings out of the house than really finding out what happened to Lance. It's very odd to see that.
Miss Foster relates she was having a secret relationship behind Lance's back, and that's what she was doing on this night. We had eyewitnesses that kind of put her on the other side of town at the time that Lance was murdered. And so we were able to kind of eliminate her and cross her off.
Lance's home to search for the murder weapon.
So how long did you work for Mr. Herndon?
2 years.
Investigators began re-interviewing members of Lance's staff who would have had access to his house.
What are you looking for?
It's a crescent wrench.
I've seen one.
Lance's staff made a note to detectives that Mr. Herndon actually had that same kind of crescent wrench inside of his bedroom because he was putting together some exercise equipment.
It was in there. I haven't seen it since.
Learning that there was a crescent wrench at one time present prior to Lance's death and afterwards it was missing told me that we had in fact identified positively the murder weapon.
That means that was a crime of opportunity. Someone was filled with rage and they grabbed the first heavy thing they could get their hands on and used it to kill our victim.
Have you spoken with Solange? I mean, she may have seen it too.
She worked for Mr. Herndon?
Yeah, and they dated.
She was a former lover of Lance Herndon and was the current part-time worker.
Thank you for your time.
Investigators are really interested in speaking with Solange Maxwell. She voluntarily comes in for an interview.
So, tell me about you and Lance.
She told the police that there was no romantic relationship, that relationship had ended a few years earlier, but that they had maintained a very cordial and a very friendly relationship.
I worked for him part-time.
When was the last time you saw him?
The night he was murdered.
She's the last person to see Lance alive.
Solange tells police she was working at Lance's home from 6 to 10:30 p.m.
Lance was home at 9 p.m. and he never left.
Solange says she left Lance's house and arrived at her own home around 11:30 p.m.
And what's more, Solange says Lance Herndon actually left a voicemail on her recorder just to make sure she got home safely.
I called him back and we talked until about midnight.
Upon investigation, police were able to verify her story. And then ultimately, she has an alibi, and she is also stricken off the list and eliminated as a potential suspect.
Thank you.
Thanks to Solange, we now know he was alive at midnight. We know the clock stopped at 4:10. That timeline just shrunk to 4 hours and 10 minutes.
With leads drying up, Clint turns to Lance's close friend, Christopher Alexander.
So, we're looking at women in Lance's life.
He felt like I was genuinely trying to solve this case, and he wanted to tell me as much as he could about what Lance had shared with him.
Lance had recently fallen for someone. Her name was Dion Ball.
Dion was 28 years old. She originally was from Jamaica. She was enrolled at Georgia State University.
She was wild.
He tells me, as is the case with most new, fresh relationships, it was fast, it was fun, it was sexy.
According to Mr. Alexander, there was something about Dion Ball Lance couldn't get her off his mind. And he was smitten by her.
He showered her with gifts.
Like what?
Gave her a credit card, even bought her a new Mercedes.
We're talking about a Mercedes-Benz. We're not talking about a bouquet of flowers from the supermarket.
So he was in love?
Not really. He didn't want to settle down.
Lance was not interested in having a serious, monogamous relationship with Dion Ball. But she wanted more. And the relationship for Lance began to sour.
He told me she started acting crazy, so he cut her off. And she was pissed.
Could this new girlfriend be the killer?
When was the last time you saw him?
The night he was murdered.
After a couple of months, the Lance Herndon homicide investigation started to slow down.
Thanks for meeting with me.
But top prosecutor Clint Rucker does not give up.
We're looking at women in Lance's life.
He's convinced someone that knew Lance is responsible for his murder.
Lance had recently fallen for someone.
He gets a new lead when a best friend lets Clint know that the victim's been dating a new girlfriend by the name of Dion Ball.
He told me she started acting crazy, so he cut her off. And she was pissed.
I thought, she's the lead that we've been waiting for.
Investigators contact Dion Ball, and she comes in for a videotaped interview.
If I'd known I was gonna go on camera, I'd look better.
She has such a cavalier demeanor. She's actually joking around with the detectives.
Did Lance support?
Just, well, to a certain degree.
How so?
Well, he'd give me money every week. He'd pay for my school fee and buy my book. He basically gave me a credit card to whatever I needed.
It was almost playful. She laughed quite a bit. She told some inappropriate jokes.
Well, I mean, like, was it 50?
No. What can $50 do? That's luxury.
Does that sound like a woman who devastated because the love of her life has just been brutally murdered? It's very odd to see that.
Detectives asked Dion of her whereabouts on the night of the murder.
Dion gives them an alibi. She claims she was at home, that she never left her house.
Did you know many of his friends?
No, and I purposely wanted it that way. The fact I'm still married, I'm not legally divorced.
She drops this huge bombshell right in the middle of the table, talking about the fact that she's actually a married woman.
Does your husband live here?
No, he lives in Jamaica.
The investigators learned that Dion Ball had been married for several years to a man named Thomas, who was a pilot who lived in Jamaica.
He came up the other day and got my daughter, and then he left.
What day is that?
The same day that Lance died.
Lance had made a phone call to Dion's house, and Thomas answered the phone. After hanging up, Thomas questioned Dion quite extensively about the nature of her relationship with Lance. Dion explained to her husband that they were just merely friends.
This opens the door now. Your wife is cheating on you. She's denying it. I could see somebody picking up a wrench and take that victim out in a fit of rage.
Clint may have just found his motive.
We were interested in speaking to Thomas to find out whether or not there had been some motive on his part to participate or to cause the death of Lance Herndon.
When detectives dug into Thomas's background,
They quickly found out through flight records that he was on a plane back to Jamaica at 8 p.m. the day of the murder.
so he was more than 1,000 miles away and just couldn't have committed this murder. With Thomas in the clear, police took an even harder look at Dion.
And that's when they made a jaw-dropping discovery.
Detectives find out that 1 month before the homicide of Lance Herndon, Dion Ball got a criminal trespass warning to stay off the property of Lance Herndon.
Dion Ball actually was at his house uninvited.
She was looking through the window a la Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, and she sees a woman in a towel walking around Lance Herndon's crib.
Lance was having an overnight visit from Nadine.
She was unhinged.
Lance was unwilling to open the door. He called the police.
Hey, there's somebody knocking at my door, and there might be like an ex-girlfriend or whatever, and it gives me some problems.
No cop wants to take anybody to jail for criminal trespass. They got way more important things to do. But she couldn't even follow a lawful order by the police.
Most people, when you see the cops, they tell you to get the hell on, you get the hell on. She acted the fool in front of the cops. They're starting to paint a picture that nobody can tell Dion Ball anything.
She was arrested. And there's more.
Court summons.
From the criminal trespass case, he was actually scheduled to appear in Roswell Court the day of Lance Herndon's body being discovered.
This is a real motive.
Bells and whistles went off. From Dion's perspective, prosecution of this case for her would have been life-changing and means that her husband and family would find out about the existence of this inappropriate relationship with Lance Herndon.
This cannot be a coincidence. It's just too convenient that this homicide occurred the day before this hearing. If Lance Herndon is not available to testify, Dion Ball gets off scot-free.
We need to speak with her again.
Dion Ball has to have the microscope pinned against her right now.
She was arrested.
The Lance Herndon homicide investigation is heating up.
Hey, there's somebody knocking at my door and give me some problems.
Clint Rucker discovers that ex-girlfriend Dion Ball was arrested for trespassing outside of Lance Herndon's home.
And there's more.
We found out that Lance was scheduled to go to court on the day he was killed to prosecute Dion Ball for criminal trespassing.
We need to speak with her again.
It gave me a real sensation that Dion Ball was the actual killer.
Dion agrees to further questioning by police.
Irie Toya, I had nothing to do with Lance's death.
She claims that she would never do anything like that she's not that kind of person, and that she's not a violent person.
There is something I didn't mention before.
She drops a bombshell on him.
She indicated she last saw Lance on the night before he was killed, when he came to her home and brought her his laptop computer.
He gave you his laptop?
Yes.
That's the only item that they can tell was missing from the residence of value. The police were highly suspicious of that.
I needed it for schoolwork and asked Lance to bring me his portable one.
Did he give you a computer case with it?
No.
Lance would have never given her this computer in that manner.
I'm telling the truth.
The laptop was very expensive. It was the computer in which he used to transact business. You would have expected it to be given inside of its protective carrying case.
What time did he bring it to you?
About 9:30 p.m.
Lance was home at 9 p.m. and he never left.
We know that's not true because Lance's staff made a note to detectives that Mr. Herndon actually was at home during that time. So this sister's lying.
We have people that swear he was at his house until 10:30.
I don't know what to tell you. He came over, gave me the computer, then he left.
Is she arrestable at this point? Absolutely. But can Clint guarantee a conviction? Not yet.
While the internal feeling was that she was the person responsible, there was also this sense of there being like one thing missing that would conclusively allow us to be able to convict her beyond a reasonable doubt.
Knowing Clint, he wasn't going to just charge somebody until he had enough to put the case over the top.
He had no eyewitnesses and no definitive scientific evidence linking Dion Ball to this murder.
His evidence was all purely circumstantial. So we had to pump the brakes on this, regroup, and see what happened.
Nearly a year and a half passed with no new leads. I mean, this case was ice cold, but Clint refused to give up.
One of the critical components of homicide investigation is watching paint dry. You gotta check into your patients and then pull out a folding chair. Because sometimes you just gotta let the evidence come to you.
It was extremely frustrating that I couldn't charge her with murder. It left me feeling as though I had failed Lance Herndon and his family.
Hello.
Mr. Rucker,
Yes.
I have info on your murder case.
He gets this crazy call out of the blue. It's a divorce attorney representing Dion Ball's husband.
My client wants to talk.
She says, I know you're investigating Dion Ball for the murder of Lance Herndon. I got some information for you.
Can we meet in person?
Absolutely.
I was very excited. I was very anxious.
Clint knows whatever he's gonna hear is probably gonna be the key piece of evidence he needs to take this case home.
How about this afternoon?
Mr. Rucker,
Yes.
I have info on your murder case.
Prosecuting attorney Clint Rucker gets a call that could break this case wide open.
My client wants to talk.
It's a divorce attorney representing Dion Ball's husband.
Can we meet in person?
How about this afternoon?
I'll make it happen.
But that's not all.
He says, hey man, the reason I'm filing for divorce is because I think my wife killed Lance. He shared with me that several weeks prior to him filing for the divorce, Dion...
She's off the hook. She's trying to hurt this brother. That's all going back to the kind of damage we saw done to Lance Herndon when he met his demise.
And then she threatened me.
She said, if you don't stop effing with me, I'ma do you just like I did Lance. His statement was tantamount to a confession.
You did the right thing.
It became clear to me that Dion Ball was our killer.
Clint devises a plan to take Dion down, which includes secretly attending her divorce proceeding.
I very casually walked into the back of the courtroom. I was dressed very casually, like a spectator might be.
Clint knows Dion Ball has to testify under oath. You gotta raise your hand in civil court just like you do in criminal court.
Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
The case finally went to trial.
Good afternoon. I'm going to take a little time to explain to you why, without any doubt, the killer sits in this courtroom.
Clint didn't enter this trial with a clear-cut home run. The DNA could be explained that it's consensual. Of course, there's gonna be transfer of hair.
I was nervous. I'm fighting not only for Lance, but for all his family members and friends who loved him dearly.
This was going to be one of the most talked about murder trials in the history of Fulton County.
And she is right here.
What time were you at his house?
Between 9 and 10:30.
Over a year after the murder of Lance Herndon, Fulton County prosecutor Clint Rucker files charges against the ex-girlfriend of this victim, Dion Ball.
The case is highly circumstantial, but Clint makes a decision to go to trial with the information and the evidence that he has.
I have been given the responsibility of presenting to you the case of the state versus Mrs. Dion Andrea Ball.
Over the next 2 weeks, Clint lays out the prosecution's explosive case against Dion. According to Clint, it began when the couple's relationship soured.
Lance was using this criminal trespassing court case as a way to permanently cut ties with Dion Ball.
When that happens, you can only imagine her rage. That's the lifestyle she wanted to have. A married sister, her side piece is cutting her off and she's losing her mind.
According to Clint's theory, Dion wasn't giving up on the relationship.
On the night that Lance was killed, Dion Ball arrived at his home in Roswell sometime after midnight. Dion would have been seeking assurances from Lance that he was not going to prosecute her. He was not the kind of person who was confrontational. Lance would have assured her that he had no intention of going to court. And I think that they would have engaged in sexual relations at that time. I believe all of this would have occurred in between midnight and 4 a.m. After having sex, I believe that Lance fell asleep.
The theory of the prosecution is, at some point, Dion Ball went to that laptop.
Dion would have wanted to confirm what Lance had told her. She would have checked his calendar and found that he planned to attend court and actually prosecute her. This would have driven her into a rage. She concluded that the only way she could prevent this from happening to her and destroying her life potentially is to take his life. She looked around the room and saw this crescent wrench and decided that she was going to beat him to death. And I believe that she would have straddled his body.
Clint doesn't just tell the jury what happened next. He shows them.
The killer was up close and personal when taking Mr. Herndon's life. The killer struck him. He was struck again and 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 again until she beat the life out of him. Once she realized what she had done, she immediately went to a cover-up mindset. She wrapped up the murder weapon. And she took the laptop computer because it indicated he intended to go to court. The prosecutor, she was just taking away the evidence that pointed in her direction. You will finally bring his killer to justice. So when the jury actually begins to deliberate, it is literally out of my hands.
On April 17th, she received a sentence of 10 years in prison, and the case was finally over. Two trials over a number of years, and now a plea deal.
Right.
Tell us about that, man. What were you thinking?
It's disappointing. I think it left the family with a huge hole in their hearts about the way our system works and the way that justice ultimately got meted out.
It was a travesty of justice for the family of Lance Herndon. Dion Ball was a crafty, well-versed, manipulative woman. In my opinion, she played the system, and she won.
The thing that really enrages me is that even after she went away on the plea deal, she had the gall to write me a letter, still professing her innocence.
That's straight narcissism.
Yeah.
Sociopathic behavior.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, as we sit here today, Dion Ball is a free woman.
That's true. She did a little bit more than 9 years. And so she's been released. You know, I hope I never see.
Would have walked scot-free.